and real.
Okay. Now you reached out and, or how are we going? How are we going about on that? Started it off. We're just going hot.
Yeah, I'll start it. I'll wing it.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so we are here with my brother, Jared, the biggest conspiracy theorist I know.
Hello, everybody.
Who you guys might remember from the Flat Earth video, where we were joking about it, but also like pretty crazy.
I mean, it's hard to joke about things that, you know, are that crazy, though. You know what I mean? It's like, they're jokes, but they make you think a little bit.
So, okay, the simulation theory. I thought I knew a lot about it, and then I was texting with my brother, and I realized, oh, I don't know shit. Because some of the things he was saying was making my mind blow. I think most people know the base idea, right? Which is we're all living in some sort of simulation. It's all like a matrix. It's all computers. It's not real. And maybe at some point we can break our way out of it. I think most people know that.
I think that's the idea that most people have, yes. That we're being controlled and nothing is really our choice. It's all kind of predetermined, right? On that note, one interesting thing is when I did a video on the Flat Earth with a gentleman named Mark Sargent, who's one of the big figureheads of the Flat Earth, I had brought up to him that I wanted to explore the simulation theory. And he told me that the simulation theory is the ultimate. Once you land on the simulation theory, everything correlates, nothing else matters, and it will just suck everything out of you if you allow it to. To get into it, just to lay the groundwork, the original simulation theory was brought out in 2003 by Nick Bostrom, and he presented 3 scenarios of likelihood. The first scenario is human beings never reach a point in civilization where they're technologically advanced enough to create a simulation that feels real. The second is we do end up getting advanced enough to make the technology for a simulation, but either we have no interest in pursuing it, or we end up destructing the planet with nuclear weapons before that could ever happen. The third, we're in a simulation. So when you hear like Elon Musk talk about it, I think he popularized it for a lot of people, and he says that the chances of us being in base reality is like 1 in a billion.
The odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions. So tell me what's wrong with that argument.
Is the answer.
The last 40 years of technology has gone from a computer chip the size of a house to a computer chip that you can hide on your fingernail.
Why bother typing your contact information into another person's phone when they can get the information from a microchip on your fingernail?
So obviously, it doesn't seem as though we'll never be able to create a simulation. I think if anything right now, the world is proving that they want a simulation.
Now, if I'm in a loud place and I want to share my Instagram or my social media, I say, scan my finger.
Right, that's the goal.
Fucking year, like, I feel like when I first heard about the simulation theory, everybody was like laughing about it. And now, when you start talking about it, oh yeah, have you seen The Matrix? So I'm like, okay, people are, I mean, even like Instagram. I was looking at Instagram filters, and some of them are created by kids. And they're so in-depth and crazy and like putting things on your face and putting monsters like, you know, and I was like, okay, so clearly technology is advancing very fast, even to when Instagram first started. So the reality of us getting to a point where somebody could create a simulation, it doesn't seem that far away at all.
No, I mean, if you were to base it off of technology's exponential growth in the past 10 years, we're probably very close to it. We went from Nintendo in the early 90s. Now we're at a point where you can pretty much be inside the world in Nintendo.
You can literally
put on goggles and you're there.
Yeah, like that game that people were playing where you put on the VR and you think you're like walking out of a building on a plank and you think you're gonna die, and people actually like broke their TVs because it was so real for them. So, okay, say we are in a simulation, which...
Let's assume we are.
Okay, we're assuming we're in a simulation. What is it?
So, to keep going, I think it's important. There's a quote by a quantum physicist named Werner Heisenberg. If we're going to keep talking about the universe, I think it's a very important quote to bring up. He says that not only is the universe stranger than you think, it's stranger than you can think. So...
Ew. That's too real.
Yeah.
Ew. Am I some alien blob, you know, sitting in some hovering chair, like playing my life? Or is it like a flashback Because I've heard of that, like the ancestor simulation, where it's like a simulation of the entire history of the world. It's kind of like a history book. Like you can go through the simulation and watch certain events happen.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Exactly like that. So it's almost in the future, we want to understand our past, so we create simulations that we can relive the past in. A point would be basically to learn from the past and to put ourselves through as many scenarios as humanly possible. So like the simulation that we're in right now could be ran 1,000,000 times, you know, and over the course of the 1,000,000 times, they're going to learn lessons in each one, different probabilities, things of that nature. I mean, maybe at one point people just become so bored they want to relive the past.
Whoa.
You know? So let's just assume that we are in a simulation.
Is it everybody's simulation or is it per person? Like, am I in my own simulation and all you guys are NPCs? Is that what it is?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe that we are in a mass group simulation. And my personal belief is we all share a collective consciousness. We're all tapped into the same simulation. That's why you enter a room and you feel energy. And not everybody though. Like not everybody is tapped in quite the same. We've all asked the universe for a sign, you know. Give me a sign. Once you accept a sign that the universe gives you, you speak universe now. Everything is a sign. And you live synergistically with the universe. And the world almost tries to train you to not go with your gut, to not believe your instincts, right? So there has to be a creator. There has to be the ultimate programmer behind this. There has to be rules. There has to be a system in place that governs the simulated experience. You have laws that govern society that keep you in line while you're here. Physics, the natural law, gravity, things of that nature to bring some kind of order to the existence. And the next thing would be the player. So who are the players in this scenario? The way I perceive it is the brain would be the player. So there's an old theory that inside of your brain is somebody sitting in a chair controlling the body, right? So let's say the player is the brain, the character that you're playing is your body. Instead of a remote control and you have like all these buttons to press, we have 5 senses that we use to experience the world around us. So these are our interfaces to the simulation. The land that we're in, you know, you're playing GTA 5 or whatever it is, and it's all based in Los Angeles, you know, if the system would be Los Angeles, but for us, the system is the whole universe. And we understand the Earth, but the programmer probably just did a bunch of like spacebar, 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 and just kept going out further, 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 further. You know, it's probably just stars, and then you just extend, 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 extend. Make it so far out there that we'll never be able to get to it. You know?
Like when I hear a voice in my head and it's saying like, oh, don't go here, oh, do this, oh, you know, is my conscience, the voice in my head, is that actually the person playing my game?
A simple answer, yes, I guess. In the terms of what we're discussing right now, yes. That person that's in your brain, sitting on that chair, controlling what you're doing through your 5 senses, is ultimately telling you what to do.
How did you get that?
I guess that would be the case. We have to kind of just accept that as fact. I mean, like I said,
Shane even has his back to us.
so in regards to the creator, I've done a lot of research. One thing that really interests me is monuments, like the pyramids of Giza, the pyramids in Teotihuacan, how they all seem to be aligned somehow. And if we go back in time to the earliest records that man ever left us, which would be caveman drawings, right? Early cavemen, they drew Orion. And a lot of us are familiar with Orion's belt, the constellation. There's 3 very prominent stars in the sky, but the whole constellation depicts a hunter, or Orion the hunter. So what would motivate cavemen to paint something on their walls? It's probably an homage to their creator, I would imagine. And the creator even taught them how to hunt, because if you look up at Orion, it looks like somebody hunting with a bow and arrow.
Whoa,
And
that's crazy.
Let's just say that Orion is the ultimate programmer, he's the coder, the ultimate creator. He gave us a lot of clues, and it's really up to us to figure these things out, right? So for the cavemen, it might have been very obvious. There was no danger of cavemen knowing about the simulation because they didn't even really understand it. Then you move further throughout time and you start with the pyramids. So the pyramids of Giza, if you align them perfectly, they go right with Orion's belt. There's the pyramids of Teotihuacan. That aligns perfectly with Orion's belt. And if you take the measurements, this is the crazy part to me, if you take the measurements of the Great Pyramid of Giza and you take the perimeter and you times it by the same number that you would times the height by, you can get the land mass and the total circumference of the earth. So the story that we're told is that slaves in Egypt built these crazy monuments that could never be reproduced, right? 2.3 million, up to 70 pound solid granite rocks that they put perfectly into place, and that they're supposed to just be tombs for mummies, you know? But how did these people know the exact circumference of the planet?
Oh, this is making me sick.
I mean,
this is too much.
I don't even understand how you can decide how much the land mass of the planet weighs.
The Great Pyramid was built with a level of technological sophistication far in excess of anything that we have today.
So just having the idea that these ancient Egyptians did this is pretty gnarly. But what if they were already here? What if these monuments were actually put on Earth as legends for us to decode throughout time?
Like a task in a video game?
Like a Rubik's Cube. And once we open up Pandora's box, something is going to expose itself to us. Because you know they say there's levels to the game, right?
I'm going to throw up. This is freaking me out.
The Great Pyramid is essentially located at the centre of the world's landmass.
But if you look in front of the pyramids of Giza, which are immaculately built, they can be seen from outer space because they were so reflective. In front of them, there's 3 smaller pyramids. And it's believed that those are actually the attempts that the Egyptians had at trying to recreate what they saw as the greatest thing ever built. Right?
Okay.
And the pyramids of Giza are by far the most popular pyramids. But in Mexico, the Teotihuacan, at one point it was a city that housed about 170,000 people. Another area where they had 3 pyramids. And if you look it up, and I can actually show you, the layout of this town of Teotihuacan matches pretty much exactly to what a motherboard on a computer looks like.
What?
It's pretty insane. That's what I believe. I believe that Orion is the ultimate coder, and he gave us clues, and there are people that are aware of this and they do not want us to find out. So they give us stories, you know? And even like in China, there's pyramids everywhere, but they cover them. They don't even allow it to be known that there's pyramids in China.
In China, there's a huge pyramid. The size of Chinese pyramid is even greater than the Egypt's pyramid, and the number of pyramids is also larger.
I didn't even know there was.
Yeah, they planted grass fields over all the pyramids.
Trees are planted and is covered by soil.
So there's no pyramids there anymore.
Chinese government never reveals the pyramid.
Why?
Because they're hiding their history. Because if you want to control a population, the last thing you want them to have is the truth. Right?
And the metaverse is...
The metaverse, to my understanding, is just a virtual reality land where once you put on these goggles, you're there.
So let's start by exploring what different kinds of metaverse experiences could feel like.
Everything that we experience in this base reality is simulated in the metaverse.
Starting with the most important experience of all, connecting with people.
You go there, it's cryptocurrencies that you would use, you have art, your NFTs that you have, and in essence, that's what it all is. It's just all digital. They say that the ultimate goal is to figure out a way to download consciousness. Just like Google could finish a sentence for you, or like Amazon knows to a 1% what their normal customer is going to buy next.
We all know that stores know things about us based on our shopping habits.
Some say it went too far. An irate father asked a Target manager why his teenage daughter was receiving baby coupons in the mail. Turns out his daughter was pregnant and had told no one at all. Is this legal? Yes. Creepy.
It's like they're downloading your consciousness right now every time you Google something. Every time you post something. Just like we all get weird alerts on our phone of things that we were thinking of, but we never said out loud.
Now, of course, we understand ads are tailored to us by the things we search, but I would notice that things that I never searched for will pop up and suggested ads and suggested videos for me.
It's called telephonic communication, where things, if you're walking through a store, it's almost like you hear something telling you should look over here at a product. It's becoming so tapped in that now just our thoughts can translate into an ad on our phone, right?
This next one is the one that really got me. like, hey, remember that movie? I'm thinking to myself in my mind, remember that movie? I'm thinking of a movie that came out over 25 years ago, and it was about these people who would morph into cats. There was no stars in this movie. I hadn't thought about this movie in over 25 years, haven't mentioned this movie, I've never seen it advertised anywhere, nothing. Just something that just came into my mind, and that's, what was the name of that movie? I'm thinking to myself, Sleepwalkers, that was it, Sleepwalkers. And just like that, the thoughts going from my mind, we fall asleep. First thing in the morning, I get up, I get on YouTube, I'm scrolling through, the very first thing I see as I'm scrolling down YouTube, would you be interested in renting Sleepwalkers? This obscure movie from over 25 years ago that I have not seen or heard or anybody mention. No one's caring about Sleepwalkers. Something's going on here.
It gets so deep because it's a simulation that started, let's say Orion started it, but it's evolved into something completely different. It's like now the simulation has been hacked. It's been infiltrated.
You're gonna be able to send a text message just by thinking about moving your fingers. That's gonna be pretty amazing.
This is how we'll all be interacting one day.
Thanks, Michael. That was awesome. All right.
Cartoon, right? Bang on, that's what we remember. Okay, you're wrong here. It's Looney Tunes. Don't ask me. Yes!
That was something a few years ago that everybody thought was stupid, and now everybody's like, wait a minute, this actually makes sense.
The picture of the person, right?
Right.
Well, it's wrong. He doesn't have a monocle.
What does he have instead?
No monocle at all.
Or even things that happen very randomly. You'll be talking to your friend and you'll say a word that's really random, and then the song on the radio says the word, or the TV says the word, and you have that moment of like, whoa. You'll see a certain number a few times a day. Like I see 719 my birthday. I see it every day, like 4 times a day in different ways. A price tag somewhere, a time code somewhere. Or even when you voice memoed me about doing this video and we were talking about it.
The simulation is just insane.
When your voice memo finished playing, Ryland's podcast popped up and started playing at the exact point where he said,
and then it all works out in their favor.
Maybe it's all a fucking simulation.
I mean, definitely.
For sure, none of this is real.
No.
No.
And I was like, okay, that's... The fuck was that?
Oh, that might have been me.
The timing of that was so
Dude, no bullshit. I just got an email for NFTs, dude.
Connected. Or even all the videos on Reddit, like glitches in the Matrix. Planes hovering and not flying. And obviously, like, well, maybe the plane is just, the speed is, you know, maybe it's an illusion. But then there was these videos that I found. There was one where it was raining, but it was only raining in like a circle. Or people disappearing in the background on the news.
Live news. See her. She disappeared. Clean.
There was this one video clip of this like guy, and he was filming outside of his bus, and there was a girl next to her car, and she was literally like a video game character that was broken. She was like doing the same movement with her camera over and over and over again. And it's like, that could be a broken character in the simulation. Or this one of a deer randomly being thrown by something invisible. So it's like all those things mixed with all our weird day-to-day like deja vu moment. Is that moments of the simulation glitching? Or is that our players fucking with us?
The glitch in the Matrix, I think that would be the obvious. There's some kind of a glitch. Maybe there's too much activity on the server if we're looking at it in a computer simulation sense. But what I like to think is these are signs from the creator to help us wake up. Like, look, you just experiencing something crazy. How do you explain it? What would be the best way to explain this happening? It kind of feels like a video game. It kind of feels fake. It kind of feels like it's a simulation. Why don't you go with that thought, explore the notion, and where does it take you?
Can the phones read my mind, or are we in some simulation theory? Is this not reality?
Unfortunately, though, we live in a society that if you take that notion and you try to move on it, you're crazy. You're a lunatic. Because they don't want you to go against the narrative. The biggest threat to a controlling body is free thinkers. The last thing you want is anybody to be curious. Curiosity killed the cat. Because if you want to control a population, the last thing you want them to have is the truth. You want to be able to dictate everything that they think, right? So what you probably want to start with is around 5 years old or so. You probably want to be in a room full of other 5-year-olds being told exactly what you should think about life, told the history, taught what's important, and then it'd probably be good to do that all the way up until you're an adult.
Oh,
right?
My God.
So
Okay.
you're indoctrinated into a system, And that's why I think a lot of people, like once they get to 20, 21, they almost have these breakdowns. And I think that's what we're really experiencing right now more than ever is people just waking up.
You know, the last thing I want to do is say, like, we're in a simulation, and then people go out and start hurting each other, and then who cares? It's all a video game anyways. Like, clearly we don't want that to happen. So is there a positive side to us being in a simulation?
The fact that you say, you know, if people knew we were in a simulation, they'd say, who cares, and it's all pointless and hurt each other. I think it would be the exact opposite. You know, I think the goal right now is to get everybody divided, to have people mad at each other, to have people confused, to have people looking for answers that only they could provide through their narrative. I think whoever coded the simulation gave us all insight that is pure. Our gut feeling is usually right, and the world enforces on us to not go with our gut and to make rational decisions and to be very calculated. And I think in a video game, whatever the case may be, what that really does is it connects us, you know, because we're all part of this together. Like one of my favorite theories is about Brahman, and it was this almighty being, the only creature to exist on the planet. And he got bored because he knows everything, nothing's exciting, nothing is surprising, there's no element of anything beyond existence. So he breaks himself into a billion pieces, and those billion pieces gain their own consciousness and they go out and live their own lives, with the end goal being at some point they'll all realize they came from one thing. And they'll come back and they'll unite and they'll live in that existence, as opposed to the separation. So I do think that the powers that be are fully aware that this is a simulation, that this is a determined existence, and they're playing their role as much as they can to be the main players that control everything. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the last thing the powers that be want is for the people to wake up. We are. The only thing separating any of us is land and water, you know? We're all on the same planet. We all are born, we all die, we all have wants, we all have needs, we all want love. We want all these things, and it's like, why do they make us feel so divided? I think the more people that accept, whether it's a simulation or we're in a world where we're being controlled and they're over it, the better. Because that means that we could actually join forces and we can live the existence that was intended for us. Whoever created this, I believe, put us here to further evolve the creation, not to devolve to a point of depression and misery and just for a few people to be happy, you know? So that's what I like. I think the simulation theory could unite us. Yeah, to me it's nothing but positive.
And you think Orion created all this?
I think the simulation that we're experiencing, yes, Orion makes the most sense to me. Now, who created Orion? And who created Orion? And who created Orion? I don't know. Maybe the creator of the simulation put us all in here with the goal of creating a simulation that creates its own simulation. You know?
I think my brain the person controlling my brain just died. That was so crazy. Is this my simulation? Is it all of our simulations? Like, when you guys leave my house and you guys drive away, do you not exist anymore? Like, only what's in my vision exists, like a computer game, like when you're going through, you know, Animal Crossing, and as you're going through the buildings start to appear and stuff. Is it like that, or is that not the simulation?
Yeah, the only things that need to be rendered are the things that you're looking at. Oh. So if, like right now, we're filming in this room, so what's on the other side of that wall? It don't matter, we can't see it.
It's Ryan right now, he's in the bedroom. Is he not there?
I don't know. I mean, he could be.